Hi again, Amy Collins from Bestseller Builders. I'm here with Terry Whalin, the acquisition editor extraordinaire from Morgan James. How are you, Terry?
I'm good, Amy. How are you?
Good. What are you working on right now? Are you actively looking for submissions or?
I am. I am. We receive about 5,000 submissions a year and only do about 150 books. But I'm looking all the time and working with many different authors on their projects. It's great.
All right. All right. And Terry, at the moment, does Morgan James sell into the library market?
We do. We
Good.
do. We sell through Ingram Publishing Services, and I know IPS works with a lot of different publishers, but for the last 10 years we've been in the top 15 of the different publishers that they work with in terms of sales and volume. So yeah, we're actually all the time working with libraries.
Fantastic. Today's session, guys, is going to be an overview of how the library market works. And this is appropriate whether you're published by another publishing house like Morgan James, if you've decided to start your own publishing imprint, and many of you out there have done that, or if you're published by a completely traditional third party. However you've decided to proceed, the information that I'm giving you today will be helpful. All right, Terry, can you get your book ready for libraries?
I can see it.
Great. Well, let's get started. My name is Amy Collins, and as I mentioned at the top of the hour, I've known Terry for a couple of years now, but Terry and I know each other mainly because we've both been in the industry for way more years than we're going to admit. But for over 25 years, I have been selling to libraries and library wholesalers. I can tell you a little bit about a number of things that hit in the library market, but over the last 2 years, I can tell you a lot about what's been happening. And that's what we're here about today. The library market changes so frequently, so quickly, that even if you listened to a presentation about libraries 6 months ago, I'm here to tell you, I bet you that data's changed. So that's why we're doing this today. For instance, Terry, I don't know if you're aware of this, but over 4,500 new titles are presented to librarians every month. There are over 4,500 new titles that are published and that are put into the library databases and into catalogs for librarians to have to wade through and pick through to decide whether or not they're going to shelve them. I don't know how many of you have been to the library in the last month or two, but libraries aren't empty. They're already filled with books. So when you talk about the library market and you're trying to understand how it works, we're not going to take it from the point of view of, well, my local library, I'm a local author, of course my local library will want my book. That's not exactly how it works. There's so much competition. And the point of today is for me to be able to help you become extremely appealing in this highly competitive marketplace. Librarians are looking for books that fit in categories where they have a need. The whole idea of how much room they have on a shelf is key. In the last few years, I was very surprised to find out that for many, many, many library systems, romance novels, just, dyed-in-the-wool romance novels, which were a staple for decades in the library market, are getting a smaller and smaller shelf share. The reason why the share of the shelves for romance novels are going down, there's many reasons, but one of the big reasons is that librarians have told me is that more and more people are able to get their romance novels online as an ebook. They're able to pull it for 99 cents or even free from so many different sites that the number of people who come to a library or who go to a library's website and try to check out a book in the romance category has been slowly and carefully diminishing over the last few years. However, more and more thriller novels, more and more suspense novels are being checked out as more and more men retire, as more and more avid political thriller readers and fans get to a point in their lives where they have more time for leisure reading and they're going to the library more and more often. I hope that makes sense, because that sort of data is the kind of data that I live for. That is exactly why, why I say that things change on an extremely regular basis. All right, so if librarians are looking for books that their patrons want to check out, and if you've got a book that fits a category they need, what is the next set? What is the next set of criteria that librarians are looking for? Librarians are looking for very professional, eye-catching design. They want to make sure that the books that they put on the shelf look as professionally published and read as professionally published as any other book put out by Random House or HarperCollins or Morgan James or any of the other publishers out there. Here's an example of a cover, an original edition of a cover that did not do very well in the library market. So the author / publisher went back to the drawing board and came out with this cover. Terry, do you see the difference between the two?
Oh, yeah.
Would you
Dramatic.
agree that a librarian perhaps might be a little more interested in the second one versus the first one?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I hope you guys can see the difference between this cover and that cover. There's just a lot that goes into a professional cover design. So that's one of the next things that librarians are looking for. In addition, I want you guys to pay close attention to the spine of your book. Show of hands in either the chat box or the Q&A box. How many of you who are on the call right now have been in a library in the last year? Just say me or hi or yes, or say no. I'm good either way. Okay. So, okay, good. I'm glad to hear that, because if you want to sell into the library market, actually setting foot in a library is a really good first step. So for those of you who want to sell to the library market and who have not been in a library in the last few months, may I recommend that you go to your local library, you make sure you have a library card. Doesn't make any sense to ask a library to stock your book if you don't have a card. But one of the things that Stephanie and Melissa and all these guys will tell you, because they've been in libraries, is that the vast majority of books are spined out. It's not you're not looking at the front cover. This is not like a bookstore. There's not huge tables everywhere. There's stacks upon stacks, shelves upon shelves. And your spine is actually your cover. So you guys can see here, I've got two examples, a before and after. The spine on the left is the before, kind of hard to read. Can you imagine being 10 paces back, just kind of walking down an aisle, glancing? You would never see Bob's Raven Feathers. But if you redesign the spine, make the font easier to read, make it really pop, you will have a much better chance of catching someone's eye. There is a woman named Dominique Rocca from Source Books, whom I adore, and I really respect her. She taught me this more than anybody. Spending time on your spine, making it colorful and eye-catching and easy to read, is a step that so many publishers and authors forget. They skip over it by mistake. But in the library market, your spine is key. So that's another thing librarians are looking for. Librarians are also looking to make sure that the books that they buy allow them to stay in business. So it's not okay for those of you who have an 80-page memoir. It's really not a good idea to make an 80-page paperback memoir $35.95. Your book has to be in the sweet spot. It has to be priced in a way, because libraries are businesses. They only have so much money to spend. Now, the nice thing about libraries is that that money is re-upped every year or every quarter or every month, depending on how often their budgets hit. But if you're going to try and sell to the library market, you need to keep in mind that they still do have limited funds, and that your book has to, as we said, your book has to fit in a category that they need, has to be a book that their patrons will check out, has to look good, has to be easy to spot, easy to find, even if it's spine out, and it has to be priced right. These are just basic publishing basics. And if you're with a truly legitimate, well thought after publisher like Morgan James or like HarperCollins or Career Press, your publisher knows these rules, you'll be covered. But if you're making these decisions on your own, if you are publishing your own book, please take the time necessary to make your book fit all of the marketplace criteria that all the other best-selling books by strong and time-honored traditional publishers are making. Does that make sense to everyone? Is there any questions before we move on? All right. Well, the next thing I want to talk about, and I hope that this is not too in the weeds, but I wanted to give you guys the actual web pages. And don't worry about this, guys. For those of you who are curious, if you're watching this on a replay or if you're watching this live and you want these websites, I have put this on a web page, which I'm going to give you at the end. This is going to be kept alive as a replay, and this entire presentation will be available as a download for free for you to grab from a page that Terry and I have put up. So don't start scribbling. Well, you can if you want, but I promise I'm going to give you guys these. The big wholesalers that libraries use right now is Ingram. And for those of you who are connected through Ingram Spark, you're in great shape. For those of you who are not, your publishers, you know, Terry, you said that you're actually distributed by Ingram Distribution, correct? The publishers.
That's right. That's right. Ingram Publishing Services, yes.
Yeah. Now, if you're with a publisher like Whalin or some other publisher, you are definitely in Ingram and Baker and Taylor and Brodart. Follett now owns Baker and Taylor. Follett is a wholesaler, though, that is still kept as a separate entity because they mainly focus on schools and universities. But these are the top wholesalers that I would recommend that you reach out to if you're self-publishing and you want to be considered to be carried by a wholesaler into the library market. And as I said, I've given you the links right now to the applications, and you'll be able to download these from the website at the end of the hour. There's another one that I really like called Midwest Library Wholesaler. And I don't have them listed here mainly because they're more regional and all of the rest of these guys are national. But feel free to Google Midwest Library Wholesaler. They're a great organization. The key to library sales is the wholesale market. I want to take a moment and I want to talk to you about how libraries get their books. And I want to talk about the process and walk us all through it. Because librarians at the moment are not, for the most part, allowed to buy books willy-nilly from any vendor they want. If you, as an author, are with a publisher like Morgan James or like HarperCollins, and you want your local library to buy, or if you want a library in Chicago or a library across the country in LA to buy your book, you can approach that librarian and ask them to purchase your book. But they are only allowed to purchase from a few small venues. They are contractually obligated in many cases to use a particular wholesaler. They're not allowed to use a wholesaler that's not on their approved list. In many cases, that library has to order from Baker and Taylor. In many other cases, they have to order from Ingram. Most of them can order from both, Ingram and Baker and Taylor. Some of them will only order from Brodart. So it's important that you understand when you're approaching a particular library system, which wholesaler they're allowed to order from. They're not allowed to just haul off and write a check to the Amy Collins Publishing Company, no matter how much I would like them to. In many cases, it's because they're a state or a county agency and there are contracts put in place and they're just not allowed to make those decisions. But do you know who is allowed to make those decisions? And this is a wonderful ring around the rosy. I love this. Just about every public library system in North America and many in the UK, but a lot of them in North America have what's called a Friends of the Library program or some version of that. Friends of the Library, Library Coalition, you know, the Strong Library Volunteer League. Just about every public library has a volunteer and community cohort. And those are wonderful organizations to reach out to because their whole job in most cases is to raise funds for more content, for more periodicals, for more books, for more ebooks, for more audiobooks. And if you want to get your book into a library and you're not at one of these wholesalers, but your book is available on Amazon, here's a fantastic little tip. I I personally, my company contacts over 10,000 libraries every week. And we're talking to librarians all the time. This is what we do for a living here. And I will tell you that from our experience, well over half of the libraries that we talk to, over half, buy from Amazon.com every week. And here's why. Although the library is in many ways contractually obligated to use a wholesaler, Amazon is a wonderful loophole because Amazon will ship the book. You guys have bought from Amazon, right? They ship the book to you practically overnight for free. And in many, many cases, you can get a 20 or a 30% discount off the retail price. Well, that beats out what the wholesalers are selling the books to the libraries for. Terry, did you know that any library, wherever you are right now, a 50-mile radius from you, can get the books faster and cheaper from Amazon than they can from the wholesaler they're contractually obligated to use?
No, I had no idea. That's amazing.
It is. And over half the libraries I speak to order from Amazon on a regular basis, especially for books where they've got an urgent need. So please keep in mind that when you're selling, unlike bookstores, guys, I'm telling you right now, you do not approach a bookstore and tell them your book's available at Amazon. Not a good idea. But libraries don't hate it as much as they used to. Libraries love Amazon now.
Interesting.
Yeah. So get to know the wholesale market. Check out these websites, check out these wholesalers, see if your book is in them, check with your publisher. And if they're not, then start putting together a plan for how you're going to approach libraries through Amazon. Either way, you're good to go. There are over 10,000 public libraries in the United States and Canada, just in North America alone. There's almost 12,000 to be honest with you, but I say just over 10,000 because some of those are bookmobiles and temporary kiosks and summer pop-ups. But just over 10,000 is a very safe number that I feel very confident telling you. Those are bricks and mortar buildings that are open just about every day, and patrons come in and they check books out. However, far more popular and growing every week are websites for libraries. Ebooks and audiobooks and even paperbacks can be checked out from your local library without you ever leaving the comfort of your own living room. When I want a new audiobook or a new ebook from my local library, I sit on my butt, right on my big comfy chair, and I grab my phone and I open up an app called the Overdrive app, Overdrive, Overdrive. And I will start scrolling through some of my favorite authors. I'll see what new books are available at my local library, and I will check out an ebook right from the comfort of my phone. And next thing I know, it's on my Kindle app. It takes moments. It's totally free. So one of the things that I want to caution you is don't always be thinking about paperbacks or hardcovers when it comes to libraries. Over 28% of the money spent in 2018 in the library market, over 28%, and it's a $2.8 billion industry, guys, every year. And over 28% of that industry, of that money was spent on audiobooks and ebooks. So almost 30% were audiobooks and ebooks. You really need to pay attention and make sure that you're in some of those wholesalers, especially Overdrive, as I said. And you can, how to get into these wholesalers, that's a whole nother session. Today's supposed to be about why libraries are so cool. But if you guys want to hook up with Terry, I'll do an entire session on how to do book distribution into the different areas. But today, I am suggesting that you do not just depend on print or paper books. Make sure you take all formats into account. All right. So what else are librarians looking for? They want pretty books. They want well-written books. They want books that don't cost too much. But they definitely want books that will be in demand. Librarians are just like anyone else. They want to be able to do a good job, and they want to be able to keep that job. They love their jobs. A librarian who is checking in and buying books that are not being checked out, a librarian who fills their library with books that nobody wants is not going to get to keep their job for very long. So it is our job as authors, if we want our books in libraries, to make sure that we start creating some demand. So there's some ideas that I'd be happy to share with you. Some of the things that you can do is you can actually take out ads in a particular area. I take out $5 to $10 Facebook ads. They cost very little in a particular city on a regular basis. I will call up, or we will email every library in Amarillo, Texas, and tell them that we're going to be running a week-long series of ads on social media and online just in Amarillo, Texas for a particular book. And any library that agrees to stock that book for before that time, we will actually have the ad click right through to their website. We will drive demand to the library so people can check the book out at the library. Librarians love this. You will very quickly get a lot of librarians agreeing to order your book. Now, to be fair, this plan only works with enough planning. You do not call a library on a Thursday and tell them the ads are starting the following Monday. Libraries don't move that fast. Sometimes they need a couple of months to get the books in. So give them 90 days notice. If you started calling libraries today, then what you'd be saying is we're going to be doing a January campaign. If you can order the book and get it into all of the libraries in the Amarillo system, we will start driving the ads for the month of January to make sure that everyone goes to your library to check the book out. It's a really easy way for $5 or $10 to get a lot of orders in a short period of time from libraries. Another thing to make sure that you've got demand and to make sure that people want your book in the library market, reviews. Nothing will impress a librarian more, nothing will impress them faster than a series of good reviews. Independent, unpaid for, third-party reviews. I'm not talking about reviews that you've exchanged money for, but a lot of Amazon reviews, and by a lot, I mean, you want at least 30 or 40 minimum. 30 or 40 Amazon reviews before you start approaching libraries in many cases. If you don't have 30 or 40 Amazon reviews, then I'll do another session on how to get more Amazon reviews. But that's pretty much a minimum to impress a librarian. But they're also going to want to see some sort of third-party review. Midwest Book Review is a great option if your book is already out, but it's not too old. If your book has been out for a while, may I suggest you reach out to several top bloggers and ask them if they would be interested in giving your book an endorsement, a testimonial, or a review. Just a few of these independent third-party reviews will make a huge difference for librarians. Also ask yourself how you as an author can offer value and a service to the library and to the librarian. Perhaps you'd be willing to offer them a free book as a giveaway. Perhaps if you're a children's book author, you'd be willing to do either in-person or a Skype internet video reading hour, a story hour. Maybe you want to create a little kit. Let's say you've written a book about genealogy, or you've written a book about writing, or you've written a book about how to keep your elderly dog healthy. You could create a top 10 list that would be perfect for a librarian's website or for a librarian's newsletter. There's so much you can offer them. Get creative. Think about what you can offer the library that can be of service to them. That will really set you apart from other authors. If the librarian sees that your book is available from a wholesaler, was well published, that you're thinking about their needs, that you're treating the librarian like a fellow business person, and you're taking their needs into account, you're going to have a wonderful start to a partnership. And when you say to yourself, well, this sounds like a lot of work. A library only buys one copy of a book. That is not true, nor is that the way to think about it. When you get your book into one library in Amarillo, Texas, there are tons of other branches just waiting in the wings to see how your book is doing. And if you're of service to that one library and the book starts getting checked out, other branches are going to see that in their reports and they're going to start placing orders. Let's say that your book is in the Amarillo library let's say it shows up in October. It's going to be at the front of that library and on the front page of that website for several weeks as a new book that just came in. You are literally getting paid to have your book advertised to thousands, and in many cases, tens of thousands of avid readers. If I told you that you could get paid a couple of dollars to get your book in front of 10,000 readers, wouldn't you do it? Yeah, I bet you would. Well, that is exactly what happens when you get your book into one library. And over time, if your book does well, and if you create that demand we're talking about, that book doesn't get into one library. It gets into a dozen libraries, and then into 100 libraries, and then into 1,000 libraries. All right, before I move on, because I do want to talk about how to get your book into the library market, let me ask, do you guys have any questions? How's this going so far? Debbie from Ithaca's not far from me. I'm up here in Rochester, but is there any questions about the creating demand or about the library market that I can answer? Well, this is going either I'm making a heck of a lot of sense or I've put everyone to sleep. I don't know, Terry. I don't know, whichever you guys think. But we got a lot of people on the line.
I don't think anybody's sleeping.
All right. Well, we've got a number of people on the line, and I'm thrilled you're all here. So let's talk a little bit about how to approach the librarian, because that really is key. And I do have a handout for this. Remember, as I said to you, I'm going to, all of this is going to be on a website that you guys are going to be able to go to within an hour after this call. But I've got a handout that I'd love for you to fill out that will help you figure out who wants or needs your book. You need to know that when you're approaching a librarian, and you need to be able to put that into your cover letter or into your email to them. You need to be able to explain to the librarian how their patrons are going to hear about the book. I don't expect you to know this today, sitting here right here on this call, but when you're done with the exercise handout worksheet that I'm providing for free as when this is done, you're going to be able to answer those questions. And the big thing that I need you to understand, and I need you to know and be able to recite from memory wherever you are, whether you're at a cocktail party or if you're sitting in front of a librarian or if you're at 30,000 feet on an airplane and somebody asks you what you do for a living, you need to be able to tell people what makes your book different from the books they already have. What makes your book appealing against the books that already exist? If you have written a time-traveling romance novel that takes place in the Scottish Highlands during the Jacobite Rebellion, you'd better be really, really sure why your book is a great fit for people who loved the Outlander series. If you've written a book about how to delve into and really deepen your understanding of your business strengths and your leadership strengths, you'd better be really sure why your book is needed right next to the Gallup organization books, the Now Discover Your Strengths folks. There are books out there already that your readers are reading. And if you're going to approach a librarian who, by all definitions, is an expert on books, librarians know all of the books out there. I am begging you to make sure you spend a little bit of time doing a little bit of research to learn about the other books that are out there and to be able to come up with a good reason why somebody who went through Now Discover Your Strengths and Strengths Finder 2.0 needs your book on how to find your leadership strengths. What is the difference between your book and those books, and why do they need your book as well? All right, I hope that makes sense, but those are the key questions. If you know exactly who wants or needs your book, and in many cases, wants is for fiction, needs is for nonfiction, but not always. If you know how they're going to hear about it, which is your marketing plan, and if you have a firm idea how and what makes your book different from books that are already out there on the librarian shelves, you are well on your way. All right, let's talk a little bit about the huge differences between what a library looks for and what a bookstore looks for. Terry, be honest. I want to know honestly, are you a library patron, or are you more bookstore, or?
Oh no, I live right down the street from a library, and I'm down there all the time. So yeah, I'm active in my library, and I use Overdrive too. I love Overdrive.
So when you walk into your local library and you're walking down those aisles, are they spine out, or am I lying?
A lot of them are spine out. They do in my library here in Colorado. They do try to put some of the covers out just because they're attractive to people.
Good. And the ones that are spine out, or the ones that you pick up that are cover faced out, When you turn them over, is there a little strip along the bottom with a whole bunch of codes and places where, have you guys noticed in libraries that they've got all these special numbers and codes that help people figure out where to shelve the books?
Yes.
All right. Well, those of you who went to school may remember hearing about the Dewey Decimal System. But it is so much more than that in this day and age. There are international databases. The one that I'm the most concerned with is called the MARC database, M-A-R-C. M-A-R-C database. And if your book is listed in the MARC database, that means that when a librarian decides whether or not to stock your ebook through Overdrive, your audiobook through Overdrive, if they want to decide whether or not to buy your book from Baker and Taylor or Ingram, when a librarian is making a decision, quite often the librarian will flip the book open, the sample book or the PDF that they're flipping through as an electronic copy, to see if there is a catalog and publication block on the copyright page, to see if the catalog and publication block data has been uploaded to the MARC database. Because if it has, that saves the librarian tons of time. That means that the librarian doesn't need to vet the book. They don't need to make sure that they've got the right author. They don't need to look up all of the different shelving codes. They don't need to pay attention to the subject. It has already been done for them. On the screen here, you guys will see a sample. This came right from the Library of Congress of a catalog and publication block. Please, please, please make sure that you have a catalog and publication block for your book. And if you do not have the power or the control to put one on your library, on your book yourself, in your copyright page, you still can get these blocks created through third-party companies and get them listed up in the MARC database. And this is a great way to get a number of librarians to say to themselves, this book would be easy to put on my shelf. I think I'll take this book about how to keep my elderly dog alive as opposed to that other book, because this book that Amy sent me about old dachshunds has a catalog and publication block ready to go, and I don't have to think. This other book about elderly dachshunds doesn't, so I'm going to pick Amy's. This is non-negotiable when it comes to in many library systems. For those of you whose books are already out and you're saying to yourself, but I don't have a catalog and publication block, it's okay. It's okay. There are tons of companies out there that will do one for you for very little money, like less than $100, and will get you into these databases, will get you into WorldCat, and will allow you to be able to catch up if the library market is important to you. I will be happy, and below, if you're watching this on a replay, the link to that service and to all the services that I would recommend that are all vetted by the international organization and the Library of Congress is right below this video. And if you're watching live, don't worry guys, I got your back. It's going to be on the replay page. I'll put a link right there for you. Is there any questions about this block of data and about, did I explain, Terry, carefully enough why it's important to have librarians put this record up?
Oh, you did, Amy. I'm going to be looking at my books to see make sure it's in there. That's for sure.
All right. And as I said, this company here, dgi.com/PCIP, I don't get anything, guys, for recommending them. I get zero. That's not how I work. They are the premier company and the least expensive that can get your book data into that MARC database. But I will make this available as part of the download for you guys so you can get in touch with them. And their website, if you click on this link that is below, it will take you directly to a Q&A page on their website that answers all your questions about catalog and publication blocks. So I want you to remember, I want you to keep in mind that it is your job to fit your book to the needs of the library. It is not the librarian's job to fit their shelves to the needs of your book. I hope I made that clear. It is our job to be of service to the librarian. If your book is not a good fit, that's okay. What if you've got one of those bodice ripper novels and the Duluth library system doesn't need any novels in the romance category right now? With over 10,000 libraries in North America, there's plenty of places that do need your book. So don't freak out if your book is not a good fit. Just move on. There's other libraries, other fish in the sea. Please take some time to hang out at your local library, to take some time to hang out on their website. Learn about your own local library system. Get to know your local libraries. They're a fantastic service. They're lovely people. Now, maybe 1:30 in the afternoon on a Saturday in the middle of July is not a great time to walk into, or, 2:30 on a Sunday afternoon when they're about to close at 3. Not the best time to walk into your local library and ask to pick a librarian's brain. Pick your times, guys. Be careful. But you can learn so much from librarians. Get to know this amazing resource in our industry. We absolutely love it. For those of you who are interested, a complete replay of this class, as well as all of the templates and the resources that I mentioned, are available at a website called newshelves.com/Whalin. Or I should say it will be in a few minutes. I've got to get the replay, I've got to record it and get it back up. But all of these things will be at newshelves.com/Whalin very, very soon, in the next few minutes. Also, at newshelves.com/Whalin is an opportunity. I'm only going to mention it for 2 seconds, but Terry and I are offering all of his followers a deeply discounted listing in our next library catalog. We do a series of very, very small boutique library mailings. We do one for children's book librarians. We do one for business librarians, the acquisition development librarians who are in charge of nonfiction, how-to, self-help. If you have a book, if you've got a novel, we have separate mailings that we're going to be doing in a month or two that we are offering to Terry's followers for a very low discounted price. And so that's also going to be available on the page, just some more information about that. So with that, I would love to answer any questions you guys might have about the library market. Melissa, for instance, is asking if she should ask her publisher about a CPI block, a catalog and publication block. Absolutely, Melissa. And if your publisher doesn't do them, then I would recommend that you get one done on your own. But see if your publisher will do it for you. Absolutely. Let's see, some other questions. Terry, do you have any questions before I answer the questions that are coming in on the chat box and the Q&A?
Nothing's really coming to mind here, Amy. I'm just trying to figure out what would be one of my first steps, I guess, here that I need to do, I guess, with my library. I mean, you've mentioned some of them, but I've got a book that exists, for example. What would I
Here would be in order the steps, and that's a great question. The first thing I would do is I would walk into my local library and I would ask the librarian to check to see if your book was available to be ordered and by which wholesalers. They can probably tell you that. If you don't want to do that and you're published with another publisher, I would like you to ask your publisher which wholesalers your books are available to be ordered through. That is the first step, finding out which wholesalers your books are available. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The second thing to do is to put together a very short email or approach that covers those 3 key items that we spent a lot of time talking about. And those 3 key items are why your book is so much either better than or different than other books in your genre, who your potential readers are, the people who are going to want and need your book, and how you plan on letting those readers know that your book exists and that they should come check it out at the library. Those are the 3 key points that you can outline. I actually teach an entire class on this. I've got a class called the Real Fast Library Marketing class that it's 19 or 20 videos. And I mean, unfortunately, I wish I could teach, how to do that, but that's the overview. Those are the 3 main things to put into your email or your phone call with libraries. Why your book is so good compared to other books in the genre, who wants or needs your book, and how you plan on telling them your book exists and how you plan on telling them that it's at the library. So the first step, as we said, make sure it's available to be ordered either from Amazon or from the wholesalers. Second step, put together a really cool approach. And then third step, as you're making your approach, treat the librarians like business people. Go after them in a business-like, respectful manner, and you will very quickly find that 1 or 2 libraries are blossoming into a dozen libraries and then 100 libraries. It does grow. It blossoms and mushrooms from there. Did that make sense? I hope it did.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice, Amy. 1, 2, 3. I like it. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm going to put, I wasn't planning on it, but I will put information on the newshelves.com/Whalin site in the next hour or so. I will put links to my class. I'll put links to my mailings, but I'll also put links to a couple of free resources that will delve a little deeper into those items. Now, Debbie is asking about school libraries. Debbie, I focus mainly on public libraries at this point for this reason. School public libraries do not have anywhere near the funding necessary to make their budgets as friendly to self-published or first-time authors, even first-time authors that are published by major houses. Most of the school library budgets are being taken up by curriculum books, by books that are by more established authors. And a school library may want to take your book in very much, but my experience is quite often they do not have the funds to do so. And many of my author buddies and clients have found when they approach school libraries that the only real opportunity is for them to donate a book. And if that's something that you're looking for to grow your readership, I think that's a fantastic way. That's exactly how I would spend my marketing dollars. But school libraries are a little more problematic for those budgetary reasons. Yeah. Well, let's see. I have been talking for a solid 45 minutes, and I'm wondering if there's any other questions that you guys might have about the library market or about either the mailings that I do every quarter, the classes that I just told Terry about. Is there anything I can help with before we let you guys go on with your day? All right. Terry, I can't thank you enough for hosting me today. This has been wonderful. You've got a wonderful, smart group of followers. I loved the questions we did get. I am going to put this up on a replay at newshelves.com/Whalin. I'm going to do it right now. Is there anything at all you guys need to know? All right.
No, I want to thank you, Amy, for doing this. This is fantastic. And I just really appreciate you doing this, with sharing your knowledge with us about the libraries. It's great.
Well, I appreciate, again, some very savvy questions, including Debbie, who subs apparently for a local library in her public school, so she knows what I'm talking about. Oh, Jean, I'm glad it was helpful. Thank you. Both Melissa, Jean, any of you who are listening, if I can be of help in any way, my contact information is at newshelves.com/Whalin. And I look forward to being of service. And Terry, I look forward to chatting with you very soon. If you'd like to do a more in-depth class about wholesalers or anything, we'll hook it up.
Fantastic. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, guys. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.